The morning fog lifts over Sekigahara, and on that hillside, 15,000 men are just waiting. Down below, two armies are already locked in a bloody standstill, and you're about to find out why the men on that hill matter more than either one. Their commander is a young man named Kobayakawa Hideaki, and he's promised his loyalty to both sides. You heard that right. Both sides think he's theirs, and whichever way he turns his 15,000 men, that's the side that rules Japan. So why is he just standing there, doing nothing, while men die below him? That answer is about to decide who rules an entire country for the next 250 years. But to understand why he's frozen, you need to go back a few months, to the man who put him in that position. Japan in 1600 doesn't really have a ruler. The last man who unified it, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, died 2 years earlier and left behind a 5-year-old heir. Everyone knows a 5-year-old can't hold a country together. So two men start circling each other for the real power. One is Tokugawa Ieyasu, patient, calculating, and already the richest lord in the country. The other is Ishida Mitsunari, brilliant, righteous, and deeply unpopular with the other generals. And here's the problem. Nearly every major lord in Japan has to pick a side, including one young lord who owes his entire career to the Toyotomi family, Kobayakawa Hideaki. On paper, he should fight for Ishida, but Ieyasu has already been working on him, quietly, for months. Because Ieyasu doesn't just want to win the battle, he wants to win it before it even starts. So he sends secret letters to Hideaki, promising him land, power, and protection, if he switches sides at the right moment. And Hideaki says yes. But then, just to be safe, he doesn't tell Ishida he's said no. He keeps both promises alive at once. It's a plan built entirely on hoping nobody finds out until it's too late to matter. His plan was, to put it generously, optimistic. By the autumn of 1600, both armies are marching toward the same small valley. That valley is called Sekigahara. Ishida's army holds the high ground, nearly 80,000 men strong. Ieyasu's force is almost as large, dug in below them. On paper, Ieyasu is trapped, outnumbered in position, boxed in on lower terrain. But Ieyasu isn't worried, because somewhere on that ridge sits 15,000 men who already promised to betray it. At dawn on October the 21st, the fighting begins. 30,000 men are already dead or dying within hours, and Kobayakawa Hideaki still hasn't moved. His own generals are starting to ask him, out loud, which side he's actually on. Down in the valley, Ishida is waving signal flags at the hill, again and again. Hideaki does nothing. Below, Ieyasu is starting to sweat. His plan only works if the traitor actually commits. So he does something almost insane. He orders his own gunners to fire on the hill. Not to kill Hideaki, to scare him into finally choosing. It's a threat aimed at his own supposed ally in the middle of a war. And it's a bet that could just as easily blow the whole plan apart. For a few seconds, nobody on that hill moves at all. Then Hideaki finally gives the order. 15,000 men turn, not toward Ieyasu's army, but into the flank of their own allies. It's the single largest betrayal in Japanese military history, and it happens in about 10 minutes. The men who trusted Hideaki most never even see it coming. Ishida's flank collapses almost instantly, and once one crack opens, 4 other generals, who'd made their own secret deals, stop fighting too. This whole battle was never as united as it looked from the hill that morning. Ishida Mitsunari watches his army dissolve in front of him. Hours earlier, he had 80,000 men. Now his own officers are running from him. By early afternoon, it's over. Historians still argue about the number, but most land somewhere close to 30,000 dead by the end of that single day. 30,000 men in one morning because one commander couldn't decide who to betray. Tokugawa Ieyasu walks the field that evening, and for the first time, no one stands in his way. Ishida Mitsunari flees into the mountains, alone, and Kobayakawa Hideaki, the man who decided everything, still hasn't left that hill. What happens to the traitor who just decided the fate of a country for the next 250 years? 3 days later, Ishida Mitsunari is dragged out of a mountain cave, half-starved. He's marched through the streets of Kyoto for everyone to see. His execution follows soon after. Quiet, formal, and final. The man who once ran the government now doesn't even get a grave with his own name on it. And the boy heir, the 5-year-old this whole war was fought over. He's still alive, but he'll never rule anything. Power has already moved somewhere else entirely. So what does Ieyasu do with the man who handed him a country? He rewards him, new land, a bigger title, exactly what the secret letters promised. But there's a catch nobody warns him about. Loyalty built on betrayal doesn't exactly inspire trust from anyone. Other lords keep their distance from him, even the ones on his own side. His old soldiers start calling him something else behind his back. The word spreads faster than any of his new titles ever could. Within 2 years, Kobayakawa Hideaki is dead, only 26 years old. Some records say illness, others whisper it was something darker. Either way, he never gets to enjoy the country he handed over. And with no heir, his entire family line just quietly ends. The man who decided Japan's future for 250 years doesn't even last 3 of them himself. Meanwhile, the man he betrayed for, Tokugawa Ieyasu, is only just getting started. 3 years after the battle, he takes the title Shogun. It's the highest military rank in the country, and now it's his family's alone. He sets up a government in a small fishing town called Edo. You might know that town by its later name, Tokyo. For the next 250 years, only his descendants sit on that seat of power. No civil war, no rival dynasty, just Tokugawa rule, generation after generation. And it all traces back to 10 minutes on a foggy hillside. 10 minutes where one nervous young man finally chose a side. Historians still call it the moment Japan's medieval age ended. And it all rested on the shoulders of the one man nobody fully trusted. But here's the part most retellings leave out. Ieyasu had a backup plan if Hideaki never turned at all. He'd already bribed at least 4 other commanders in Ishida's ranks, just in case. Sekigahara wasn't one betrayal. It was a battlefield riddled with them. Hideaki just happened to be the biggest domino. Which raises an uncomfortable question. Was the battle ever really in doubt? Some historians think Ieyasu never risked losing at all. The whole morning of fighting might have just been theatre, dressing up a done deal. If that's true, 30,000 men died for a decision already made in secret letters weeks earlier. That's the number historians keep coming back to. 30,000 dead in a single day. And every single one of those deaths ran through one man's indecision on a hillside. If you're just joining us, subscribe, because we tell stories like this one every Saturday. So why does history remember Hideaki as a traitor and Ieyasu as a founder? Because winners get to write which betrayals count as treason. Ishida's loyalty got him a forgotten grave. Hideaki's betrayal got him 2 years, a bad reputation, and an early death. Only Ieyasu, the man who planned it all along, got 250 years. That piece even got a name, the Edo period. 2.5 centuries with almost no civil war, at a cost most countries never manage. And it all traces back to a hillside, a fog, and a man who couldn't choose fast enough. When he finally did choose, it cost 30,000 lives in a single day. That's the number this whole story hinges on. 30,000 dead, decided by one man's 10 minutes of hesitation. Today, that hillside is just farmland. There's a small stone marker where Hideaki's men once stood, easy to miss if you're not looking for it. Most visitors walk right past it, which feels almost fitting for a man history never quite forgave. One battle, one hesitation, 250 years of consequences. It's easy to imagine history moving in straight lines, but it rarely does. Sometimes it turns on 80,000 soldiers. Sometimes it turns on one nervous man's fan raised in the fog. Sekigahara decided a shogunate, but it wasn't the last time one quiet betrayal would decide everything. Next time, we go looking for the next hillside where history held its breath.